Today we're going to be talking about the endpoint protection group management tools, and hopefully you'll find this beneficial and be able to keep your systems more organized and allow you to be able to control the number of endpoints that are hitting your dashboard. So today I'm going to talk about a couple different topics. Those topics include the definition between sites and groups. It's also going to be installation of endpoints to a group. About endpoint protection, group management. I know many of you have been asking a lot of questions, so hopefully this series will help you. Today we're going to talk about some topics that include the definition of a site and a group and why you need those, installing endpoints to specific groups, naming groups and different options for doing so, assigning policies to groups, renaming endpoints so that you can manage them better, moving endpoints to other groups, changing the layout of your groups, and last but not least, duplicates and what to do with them when they're in your groups. So to get started, what you're looking at now is a site. The reason that you would want a site is so you can manage a collection of your companies and or home users all from one site. There may be an occasion, though, where you have a client that is large enough or has an IT person that wants to be engaged in this and have access to their machines. If that's the case, contact IGI and we'll be happy to build you a second site. In that second site, we'll provide that customer as well as your engineers admin access. Your people at your own company would be able to see all the sites that are being managed from a single sign-on, and your customer would only be able to see their site. So a site is the dashboard that you're looking at, where a group is within the site. So as you see here, I have a site called IGI Commercial. This is a demo site, and in that site I've created some groups. Groups may consist of a user, that may consist of a company, or you may even opt to make a group name an engineer, and I'll discuss that strategy with you in a moment. So a group will allow you to manage a lot of different customer types from one site, and it makes it really easy. Having multiple sites will give you the ability to limit access, but it makes it a little more challenging to manage. So that's the difference between sites and groups. When you create a group within a site, you're going to go to Actions, and we're going to create, you're going to go to Create, and you're going to create a group. And when you create this group, you'll have to put a description. And you also may want to choose the option of creating a policy and assigning a policy to that group. So maybe you might want to create a policy called New Policy and save it to that, and now I have a new group on the side. When you create groups, however, what you may want to do also is you may want to also add the number of seats that you anticipate being installed in that group. In this case, I have 8 seats. I'm going to call the group IGI with 8 seats that I'm going to build annually. IGI has created a tool that if you put the word annual or monthly at the end of each of the group names, we have a system that will crawl here and then go in and find the first seen date in this column here, and it will think 11 months from that first seen date and send you an email reminder letting you know that it's time to build that individual. Now, within a group, you may have installed at different times. So 11 months from January 14, 2015 would be December 14, 2015. You're going to get a reminder, and this way you'll know to bill them in advance. If it's monthly at the end, every month you'll get a list of all the machines that you're being billed monthly for. Within that group, then you may decide to also call that group by an individual's name, a company name, and like I said, an employee name. The reason you might want to do it by an employee name is we can create an install tool that would be used by that employee, that every endpoint he installs will go to that group. So let me show you how that works. Let's assume we want to install machines to IGI. They bought online. We want to send them an email with a link, and that link then they can click on, and as they install it, will go into this group. Webroot does not ask for any personal information in the process. So what we did is IGI created an installer that will take the information from this group and build a custom executable that can be shared with your customer. Let me show you how. The first thing you'll need to do is highlight the group that you want to install them in. The second you want to do is go to Actions and say Deploy to this group. By doing so, you get this pop-up. The information you need here is from the equal sign to the end of the number. Some groups begin with a minus, and some begin with a number, but we need all of that. So we're going to copy that number. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go to the IGI website. So you're going to go to IGIUS.com. You're going to hit on About Us, Partners, and Webroot. That's going to take you to this page here. And on this page, you're going to notice the installation tool. And click on the installation tool, you get this URL. In this URL, you'll want to sign up to use our tool. Only partners of IGI are able to use this. But you can sign up, create your account, and then when you log in, you're going to get a page that looks like this. What you'll need to do is put your email address in here. You'll need to put your license key, which I'll give it to you in just a second, and then you're going to paste your group ID. The license key can be found back on your site under Resources, and here is your license key. We're going to take that license key. We're also going to paste that in here. Let me just show you. Paste that into there. Now I'm going to hit the Build button, and that's going to build an executable that I can now share. Now it's going to download, and it's going to look like a virus. I don't really need this right now, but I may want to save one of these for each of my customers on an external drive that I use at my customer sites. But in my case, I'm going to discard this. I don't need to save it. What I am going to do, though, is I'm going to send this by email. So I'm going to click on Send the Installer. I can put it in to IGI. I want to put my email in here. I'm going to send it to me. And I'm going to hit Send. Now what's going to happen is this email is going to arrive, say, to your customer. This would be your customer name, send to email address. And they're going to have a URL that looks like this in that email that they can click on and download. What you're going to notice is that in the executable name is the group ID, but not your license key. So this way, no one ever knows your license key. And when they install it, even if they decide to install it more than the number of seats they purchased, it will go into this group, and then these numbers will get out of whack. So you'll see that they installed 20 seats, but they only paid for 8. It's a great opportunity to reach out to them and say, hey, by the way, it looks like you're enjoying our Webroot product. Which of these machines are legit and you want to pay for, or which ones would you like me to disable? And most of the time, you're going to find that the customers are willing to pay because they didn't know that you were tracking how many times they're installing it. So it's a great way to do that. You can also use that methodology if you had a staff member. So as an employee of an organization, one of my partners creates a group for each of his technicians, and that group then has a unique identifier that gets handed to that technician, and that technician is responsible for all the endpoints that are being installed. It's up to him to come back and make sure they're being invoiced and they're properly cataloged. So that's another great way to use that tool. The next thing I want to talk about is the naming of the groups and modifying of these groups. So we created a group here. What we can also do is come into the actions and we can edit that group, changing the description, changing the group of the default policy of that group. And the reason you may want to do that is you want to make sure that they all adhere to a policy within an organization. and you can do that real simply by setting the policy here. So that's another option that you can do. Now, what happens when you install them and you don't use our installer? They'll typically show up in the default group, and what I try to do is get everybody to leave the default group empty. In the event that there was something in the default group, you'll want to take and highlight that machine and move to another group and assign it to whatever group you want. There's not a drag and drop option, but you got to use the button. One thing I want to point out, because I get this call a lot, how come when I hit all endpoints and I decide to move them, this button's grayed out? The reason being is they don't want you moving them from all endpoints. You can move them from default group or any of the groups that you created, but all endpoints get grayed out. So here, if I want to move this endpoint, I can highlight them all and move to another group simply that way. So that button does not work. Another thing I want to show you about the groups is that there's different ways you can view the groups. So many times I'll come into the groups and I may want to look at which ones are in an active directory, which ones are deactivated, and if there is an active directory, it'll actually list it. Which ones in a certain IP scheme. So say I want to find all the machines at 192.168.0, and as you can see here, they're not all in the same group. Whoops, I'm in the wrong area. As you can see here, oh, I don't even have group. Let me add a group. So I highlight any of the headers, I pick columns, I add group. Now, within the group, I can see they're not all in the same group, and I want them all in the same group. So what I can do now is I can go and perform a search, and I want to say all the internal IPs that begin with 192.168.0. Let me do a submit. I'll find all those machines, and then when I do that, I can highlight them all and put them into a group. Usually it doesn't take this long, but there they are. So now you've highlighted them all. We can move all those and put them in a specific group. So this is one way you can find where there's endpoints that might have been orphaned and moved around. This can be a compound search. You can say only the ones that are in active, not deactivated state. And so this will allow you to find what you're looking for. So you can look for groups. You can look for views within them, Active Directory, IP, or work groups. And you can make sure that they're all in the right groups. So if I were to highlight Forest Grove, I got to make sure that all the machines in Forest Grove belong to the Forest Grove group. Or maybe this machine right here should be in a different group called Lemenzo, right? So I may want to move that one. So anyway, it's a great way to help identify where the machines are and how to move them around. So another thing that happens that I get asked about frequently is a machine that's called owner PC here. Give you an example, here's one here, and now you might find there's a lot of machines called owner PC, and what do you do, or owner HP, or Dawn PC. So you can double click on a machine here, and you can rename it whatever you want. I can call this machine Kimberly, okay? Or, and if I do rename a machine, you'll get a red triangle. You'll need to save that change first before leaving, and then that red triangle goes away. When you rename a machine, you'll notice the right-hand side, there's a revert to original host name. This will allow you to turn it back. This change is not affecting the PC at all. It's only changing the dashboard here, so you can change it to whatever you want. Some partners choose to put an invoice number or another unique identifier in there. And in this way, within a group, you'll notice that people had different first seen dates, but this one was invoiced on this date, this one might be invoiced on a different date, and you can go back and reference your accounting file. Might be one way that you can do that. The nice thing, too, is you can always export this list to a CSV file and then send it over to your accounting department so they make sure they're getting billed properly. So these are all some features that you can do about renaming your endpoints. Another thing you can do is change these columns. As you noticed before, what I was doing was doing the drop down and changing the column, right? I can add different fields in here. One of the things that I find, though, and I get called a lot on this as well, is that Webroot only shows the first 50, and because of that, you'll get multiple pages. And if you did a sort by status and you said, show me all the machines needing attention, I'm only sorting the first 50, not all 70 machines. So in this case, what you'll want to do, if you want to see all the machines accurately, you'll want to come into your search. We'll reset that search. I'll say, show me all machines that need attention. And let's see if I can find some. And here you go, you get more this way. You say, show me all of them that need attention. I had to show the deactivated ones because I don't have any that need attention. But this is how you would get a list of beyond the 70 that were in the deactivated group. So hopefully that helps you identify those machines when you're sorting and filtering in your groups, that you have the right headers, and that when you're looking for them, you can move these around and sort ascending and descending. But if there's over 50, you're going to get multiple pages. You need to use their search button. Within here, though, too, I just want to cover, you can expand, you can move these by just highlighting and dragging them. I'm holding my mouse button and moving them. If I don't want to see the MAC address anymore, I can come in here and uncheck that and streamline that. So when I go to do my export to a CSV file, I don't have too many fields. You can do that as well. So hopefully that's helpful. Recently, there's been a problem with duplicates, and I want to cover this. Even though there's a lot of information being gathered about the endpoints, specifically a device MID and instant ID, what Webroot's finding is that with the introduction of Windows 10, there's an option where the operating system changes, and so the dashboard thinks it's a new machine, and it will make a duplicate. In the event that there's a duplicate, we ask that you contact our company. You can contact Dawn in our department, or you can send an email to help@igius.com. Doing so, what you do is give us the names of the machines that are duplicates, and then we'll make sure that the newest machine with the newest first seen date is kept, but the first seen date goes back to the original first seen date of the orphaned endpoint. So this will happen. Right now, Webroot's working on it, and hopefully those will be resolved soon. But in the meantime, they're willing to accommodate any duplicates. So if you notice a duplicate, feel free to give us a call, and we'll make sure, or send us an email, we'll make sure that gets fixed on your dashboard before your billing date. There's also up here a little help upgrading to Windows 10. Here's some things on what you should do to help avoid the duplicates in advance if you have that opportunity. A lot of times what we're seeing, though, is that customers are upgrading on their own, and then that's causing a problem. So you're not aware of it until it's too late. So hopefully this is all helpful. I plan to have additional training seminars. Feel free to give us a call or join in. If there's things I didn't cover in this event, you want to reach out to me, you've got my contact information. Feel free to give me a call. I'd be happy to help you out and give you more strategy and ideas in managing your groups and endpoints. Again, thank you for your time.